All right, everybody. Today's big day. The M1 is going out. Uh, this is a special design and knife to me because while it may not, seem that much different than some of the other sawback hollow handle knives I do, this was the first knife that I designed when I started making knives about 10 years ago. So at the time I had some limitations as far as equipment and everything else, and I couldn't really get it exactly the way that I wanted to. Finally, though, the skills and the equipment and everything else have got to a point where I can now make this knife exactly the way I want. It may not seem that special to anybody else, but to me this is very much what I think of when I think of a good, big survival blade. And it may not always be what you want to carry, but when you want a big blade, this guy's going to do the trick for you. Plus, I'm pretty sure I can feel my chest hair growing just holding this bad boy. So, it is no joke. The blade is just under 10 inches in length, a little over, it's actually 290 thou. Sometimes they come a little thicker or thinner than others, but they're minimum 1/4 inch, and this one happens to be just around 290 thousandths thick. So, obviously, if you've been following my work and my Instagram and all this other stuff, you know that I'm into the hollow handle survival knives, and that's primarily what I make. Just going to go through this really quickly for those that aren't familiar with what I do and this particular knife, and then we'll let you get back to your regularly scheduled programming. So this has fully functional saw teeth. We know they work. We've done many tests. This thing was ripping through those dowel rods the other day like there's nobody's business. So the two-tone finish. This to me is a big one. I like blasted finishes, and for working knives they're great because you hose them down with WD-40 and blow them off with the air gun when you're done, and it gets them really clean. The problem is if you wind up leaving them too long, or if something gets in there, because when you blast the finish, you're actually opening up the surface area, you're creating more surface area on the steel. And so I think a lot of little places and nooks and crannies for stuff to get in there and either stain or get stuck. So sometimes they don't come all the way clean, or they're very difficult. Now, if you have a knife shop like I do, you just go re-blast it and get back to work, and it's no big deal. But not everybody does that or wants to do that. So the gun coat preserves that blasted look, but it seals it. And now the sealed areas, which are the non-shiny areas, in case you, again, aren't familiar with these knives, it now has a, a thin layer of gun coat on there to protect it and seal it. It also lowers friction, like if you're sawing or something else like that. I don't know that you're actually going to notice that, but I mean, in theory, that's one of the things that the gun coat does. So, now you're almost assuredly not going to get rust in those areas, and it's a relatively or very scratch-resistant coating. I've been using and working with and around gun coat for years, and really a big fan. So there's that. We have the cord wrap. This one was the customer chose to go with tan instead of the usual green or black, which I think looks really, really nice. Glad he did that. We have a lanyard here, but the tan really sets it off. He has the steel-plated butt cap. So the aluminum butt cap here, the body of it is made out of aluminum to keep weight down and just reduce that way it doesn't throw the balance off too much if you remove the butt cap. We have a steel plate on here though, because if you have a pure aluminum butt cap and you have to pound or hammer something, I mean in a survival situation or even just camping, it may not be that big of a deal if you put a few scratches in your aluminum butt cap. But if you really have to smash something that's harder, aluminum may not do the trick. So this has a steel plate that's been permanently fixed on there, and now, you've got more capability with that particular, butt cap having the steel plate on there. Open this up real quickly. The client on this one chose to go with the threaded ferro rod and an additional sharpening rod. And a quick note, I've already packed those away, so I'm not going to dig them out. These aren't meant to be, your regular everyday use items, guys. So if you're gonna, use the ferro rod, it's meant to be an emergency because it's not going to be that long. It's designed as a backup, a redundancy to your other items. So the same thing with a sharpening rod. It's just long enough to be able to sharpen a knife like this. It may not be the most comfortable, but it will get the job done in an emergency. And I can guarantee you that if you had the choice of either having it and it's not the best or the easiest to work with as a full-size stone, or having nothing, of course, you're going to choose to have that capability. So that's what he has in here. The diamond rod, that's what I say, the sharpening rod is a diamond rod, so it'll have no problem taking care of the 440C on this. So, same thing with the Ferro Rod. They have, if you haven't seen them before, they have a threaded sleeve attached on there, so you can screw them into the handle, and that allows you to hold it like this and either strike it, or if you have to, there we go, I got a spare one here. So this is what it looks like. This is a shorter one for a smaller knife, but you will thread that into here, lock that down, and then you will hold it like this and you'll be able to sharpen your knife. Now again, that's not going to be the easiest thing to do, but if it's that or nothing and your knife has been dulled by whatever, then you're going to appreciate and be glad you got the choice. Now, if you don't want to go that route, there's always on the sheath here, I'll transition to that real quickly. On the sheath here, you have a pouch. You can open this guy up, and there's a little tin. You can put whatever you want in there, a larger sharpening rod, a stone, whatever. More fire starting materials, or, you know, whatever. You can put juji fruits in there for all I care. But that's how it goes. We went ahead and he has the dangler style on this one with a lift the dot snap. So when these things open and close, I mean, man, they are on there. So, same thing with the swivel, I've explained all that before, and so forth. So, anyways, don't want to take up too much of your time, but that was the general idea behind all this. Just wanted to show you, I'm very proud of this knife, and the way this one in particular came out. One of my original designs, and finally we're at a point where we can get it exactly what we want. So, very pleased. Make sure we get a good shot of the knife there. I may include some close-up pics at the end. It's always hard to tell where the light is on these things, so that's why I'm moving it around. So, yeah, there we go. And that should do it. And this guy is off to the post office to make somebody happy. Have a good day. Thanks for your support.